guys, it's Elaine. Hopefully you can hear me.
It's Elaine and
I can't
Joe.
hear Joe.
Well, I was hoping
I don't
somebody
know
else
how long
was
I'm gonna
here
be
so
here.
we could figure out
At
if it's
least
on my side
camera.
or her side.
With nothing else, I will.
Oh, there's Cliff.
I'll monitor.
Cliff, can you hear me perfectly fine?
Yes, sir. Yes,
I
I
can't
can.
hear anybody.
You've been talking bad about her, hadn't you?
No.
Oh.
No, she's up here saying that she has nothing in her headphones, so she's not hearing anything on her headphones.
Oh,
and
okay.
I fixed whatever the problem was last week, so I know I can hear people now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like last week where I wasn't hearing much of anything because my sound drivers were not there.
Yeah, I always have trouble. I end up getting here right on time because I can never get the link for the show to work until I email it to myself.
That's weird.
I have to email myself before I can get on.
Playing sound and seeing if that works, like a YouTube video or something.
I
see, we get to see live tech support.
Can you hear sound?
Yeah, live tech support.
No, I can't hear them. They can hear me.
Yes, I get that. Did you try playing music or something else to see if the headphones are working correctly?
I need to leave the studio for that.
No, you don't. You just open another tab for that. Okay. Yes, you're still in the studio. You just have a different tab open. Okay.
See, we're now experiencing Charles Tech. The best tech support Elaine could afford at this moment.
That's right.
No sound whatsoever from here. Okay.
Are they plugged in correctly?
Yes, because you're able to talk through them, yes?
Yeah, the guys can hear me.
Yes, but it's how the sound is coming out. Okay, so we need to open your sound settings. Let's try this. Okay. Did you hear a ding when I did that?
No.
And still no volume?
No.
Okay, so this. Did you hear a ding that time?
I don't hear anything.
So yes, that's just.
So troubleshoot. It's not the volume.
You're not hearing any dings.
No.
And your mic is working just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, mic is good.
Yeah, it's the headset plug for this. Except the head plug for this. This one might be faulty. Try twisting this a little. I'm gonna have this continuously playing. See if you hear.
So while Charles Tech is doing his job here, how have things been here, Cliff?
Hot. It's summer in the South. It's hot.
So
all right, we have to go. My oldest just got back inside. We have to go spray the air conditioning unit with the water hose because it overheats because the index is 102.
Jeez.
Yeah, but other than that, we're good. We just got back in town. We went to Nashville for a Pride Festival over the weekend. And yeah, we're just doing our normal thing. A day that ends in Y, something has to go crazy around here. But yeah, we're all right.
Yep. Well, I've been watching a lot of television stuff here, so I'm not certain if I'm going to be the one that spoils stuff or if I'm just going to avoid certain things here. So just to give you an idea, it's like I saw the rest of Squid Game. I saw the last of Squid Game. I have my opinions about that. I finally saw Captain America: Brave New World.
Oh.
And I finally saw Ironheart. And I definitely got a lot of stuff to say about Ironheart.
The automatic
I haven't seen any of those. My oldest has banned the Squid Game from the house because at the end of the first season, when he walked back out to go back into it, she cussed at the TV and said, "We're never watching this." It's like, okay.
Should I see if my
But the only thing I've seen is
audio drivers.
I went and saw 28 Years Later in the movie theater.
Uh-huh.
That's the only thing I've seen. And sometime
And
next
like,
week,
no,
I think my wife and I are going to go see Jurassic World. So that's going to be the only new things I watch here for a while.
Well, there's so much new stuff on streaming that I have to catch up on.
Mm-hmm.
Me change this.
No, I was surprised that I was able to watch all of Ironheart. It was only 6 episodes long. And I was like, this is supposed to be Marvel television. It's like, how is one season 6 episodes long? I just don't get it.
No, they've changed so much with TV, with what counts as a season now, with streaming and everything. It's
nothing.
On one hand, it's good where they don't have to be, restrained to that. But on the other hand, it's bad because it's like, oh yeah, we can just do a season and it'd be 3 episodes. You can't say anything.
I don't know what the problem is beyond that. Book might be broken.
let them know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard all of that. Let me say this.
Sorry.
We've
been running a check. My headphones are dead. People can hear me, but I can't hear anything. And we just run checks and nothing is working. I am going to put my headphones on my phone, my Bluetooth won't work with the computer, but it'll work on my phone, so I can at least moderate the chat. I am very sorry.
No, it's nothing to be sorry. It's nothing to be sorry about. Just you let the fingers do the talking today. So she's going to join us in the chat in a second here.
Awesome.
So I'm trying to think all that I've been watching here that has been recent. I don't know. I just I've been trying to catch up with stuff that people been asking me to watch. I know people been asking me about my opinion about Brave New World, Captain America Brave New World. And I was up here, I was happy with it to a greater degree, but I get why some people may have some criticisms about it. It was not a bad movie. It's just, if I could say, this was more for Marvel Cinematic, especially because of the actors that they got playing certain roles here. And kind of like what I said last week about Isaiah Bradley. I think that's a character that they didn't do right in this series so far. And then the transition from the original person that was playing Thunderbolt Ross to Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford makes a great President Ross. He doesn't impress me as a general. He doesn't come off as a general. He did come off as president.
No, who played Thunderbolt before that? I'm trying to remember.
I can't think of the actor's name here, but if you go back and watch Incredible Hulk and some of the Avengers movies, I see his face like clear as day. I just can't think of the actor's name.
Right. I don't know. I haven't seen Captain America. It didn't really catch my eye, something I wanted to watch, and I'm not such a diehard Marvel Cinematic fan. I have to watch every movie. I pick and choose. I don't know. I'm perfectly cool with Sam Wilson as Captain America and whatever they want to do, but it didn't catch me as anything I want to see.
Well,
if I want to see if I want to see the Red Hulk, I want to see him and the Green Hulk fight. I'm just being honest. I don't need to watch him fight Cap Falcon. So.
Well, they changed all the origins around, and that's what made this so messed up. I'm going to do this spoiler wise because last week I didn't do it spoiler wise. I didn't like how they finally introduced the leader or their quote unquote version of the leader. So we actually saw Doc Blue. What actually happened with Doc Blue in this movie?
Oh, okay.
So according to the movie, Thunderbolt eventually finds him, and I agree. Red, green. Everybody wants to see that happen, but I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon, based upon what happened in Brave New World. So Thunderbolt finds him and everything, and he kind of uses him to the best of his ability, especially after doing what he did to Blonsky to make him Abomination.
Right.
So they picked it up right there.
Oh, okay.
What actually happened to him after he helped Blonsky becomes the Abomination and the gamma radiation and everything hits his head and everything. He did become ultra intelligent and everything. He became the cinematic version of the leader. So eventually Ross finds him. He builds Ross weapons and everything. And General Ross promised him once he becomes president that he would give him a full pardon and he could go about his normal life. Thunderbolt Ross reneged on that promise. So it got to the point where Thunderbolt was sick and everything, and he reached out to the leader to fix his illness. He did, but at a cost that Thunderbolt did not know about.
Oh, okay.
The cure that he gave to him slowly seeped in gamma radiation into his bloodstream. So over a period of about 5 years, he had enough gamma radiation in him to make him a Hulk.
Oh, okay.
So that's the reason why I was like, they changed a lot of the origins and everything. It wasn't like how it was in the comic books where they had a secret project where they were trying to secretly make Hulks, behind the scenes. It was just more along the lines that this version of the cinematic leader made him into a Hulk without him knowing. And he, the leader had all this planned out to force Ross into a position where he would turn. Where he would turn when it was to his benefit.
Gotcha.
So we didn't really get to see Red Hulk until like the very last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, which was strange in itself.
Yeah, because I mean they kind of hyped him up through like the whole process of bringing the movie out. So it was like, so he's gonna be the big bad of the movie. And then I guess they changed their mind.
Well, he wasn't truly the big bad per se. I mean, he was like one of the major characters that had problems that would have made him partially to blame for everything that had happened.
I'm sorry, my oldest is heading out the door, and she has like a stack of paperwork. I'm afraid she's fixing to turn me into the IRS or something. He distracted me.
Just remind her of the old saying: "Snitches ended up in ditches."
This is right. But now, so is this one setting up any, aside from the leader, anything going forward with the whole Doom, and are we still getting Kang in the Marvel cinematic or anything like that?
I don't know, but as of right now, you got Thunderbolt in the raft, and the leader is there with him. You set up Sam to stay Cap without having Super Soldier. They also and there's supposed to be another set of Avengers that's coming in the cinematic universe led by Sam. So that's what all of this led up to. It's like they introduced that Sam is now going to be leading the next set of Avengers after after Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man is now dead. They
Mhm.
said that the Avengers disband. The movie started off with General Ross offering Sam to lead the next version of the Avengers, and then in the middle of this whole conflict, he took the offer back, and that was
Mhm.
during a time where they wasn't sure what was going on, and all this behind the scenes operations finally came back to bite Ross in the rear end. But we found
Mhm.
out that eventually the leader was playing both sides, that the leader was
Right.
manipulating everything behind the scenes here. But it did
Okay.
lead to a great transformation scene at the Rose Garden, though, where he finally turned red.
Oh, yeah. If you're going to change into a Red Hulk at the White House, the Rose Garden's the best place for it. So.
And it was messed up because it was during a press conference where he changed.
Oh.
Because they was
His press.
asking him all these different types of questions, and he took offense to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the press secretaries and everything was grabbing him, trying to get him to safety, to move out the way to keep him from saying anything. And he got riled up enough where the gamma radiation in him took over.
Okay.
And when he changed, I mean, it shocked everyone, and the reporters and stuff was like, I didn't know there was a red one. Where does this red one come from? And then next thing you know, he threw the podium and everybody scattered for their lives.
Now, in the comics, is there a blue one now too? Or is that whatever Rick Jones turned into?
Rick Jones became A-Bomb, and A-Bomb was
Right.
blue. A-Bomb was blue.
But he's not technically a Hulk.
No, he's technically a Hulk. He's technically
okay.
a Hulk.
Okay. They just
As
don't call him
A-Bomb.
Blue Hulk. Okay.
No, they don't call him Blue Hulk. They call him A-Bomb.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's not the first time that Rick Jones became a Hulk, because there was a couple of issues where Rick Jones was the Hulk
right.
in continuity.
Whatever happened to that?
Go
ahead. No, I was just whatever happened to that other kid? Amadeus Choi? Is he still around?
He still has the device on his arm that
Okay.
if he needs to inject gamma radiation, he can still turn into a Hulk.
Gotcha. Okay.
But that's that it is what it is. Just like with the whole thing about Betty being red, it wasn't the first time that Betty had ever turned into a Hulk herself.
Right.
Because she was originally the Harpy back in the day.
I remember that vaguely. Yep. Yeah, my Hulk knowledge is not the greatest. I read a large chunk of Peter David's Hulk, and every once in a while I'd read some other little sporadic issues here and there, but it wasn't until Immortal Hulk that I've really paid attention again for a long time. So I had no idea what's going on.
Immortal Hulk made it more of a horror. It went to the horror genre and made him a tragic character in the horror side of things, saying that pretty much the Hulk is really spawned by demonic energy and pretty much gets his power directly from that because of the way gamma radiation is hardens.
Yeah, it was such a different take. I wanted to check it out, and I really liked it. I don't know what they did for a follow-up, except besides ignore it, because you can't really have it's like you couldn't do Alan Moore's Swamp Thing and then go back to writing Swamp Thing as a superhero anymore. To me, it was the same thing. It's like you got this big horror story about the Hulk. You either ignore it and just go back to Hulk normally, or you got to keep going with like, I don't know, the Vertigo version of Hulk.
Well, here's the problem with that logic. If that was the case, then how do you get past Doc Green Hulk?
Yeah.
I'm not certain if you remember that saga, the Doc Green saga. I believe that was Hulk Volume 2.
That was Mark Waid, wasn't it?
I believe so. Where pretty much This was after Banner gets shot in the head and everything, and he comes back, and the Hulk that spawned pretty much went on a rampage to cure everybody else that had ever became a Hulk.
Yeah, it was Armor Wars for the Hulk. Yeah,
it was pretty much. You could break it down like that. It was surprising. The end was surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because out of all everybody that has been a Hulk, there's only 2 that he didn't cure.
Mm.
And most people don't remember which 2.
I didn't read it. I couldn't tell you. I just know it was around that.
He didn't cure Jennifer. He gave Jennifer the option because in his point of view, in Doc Green's point of view, she was the only one deserving to be a Hulk because of how she handled everything after she turned.
Right.
And the other one that he didn't turn back was Lyra. Lyra got thrown into a different dimension before he could finally inject her with his serum to turn her back.
Okay.
So she's like in a different dimension with two rogue shield agents living her best life. Living her best life as a Hulk. But what he did to Thunderbolt at the end was genius. Because he ended up capturing Thunderbolt, putting him in like this makeshift mobile cell, and they were traveling and everything. So Thunderbolt was up there like, oh, fine, I would just go ahead and change. I'll go ahead and change into red and get out of here, and I'll be back on my merry way, and I will figure out a way to stop you. But he didn't realize while he was in the cell that Doc Green had already injected him with the serum. And by the time the convoy got to its final destination, they was ready to try him up for military crimes. He set him up so bad. It was just like, wow. I mean, every Hulk except for Jennifer was like a major fight for him. Even the one with Betty was the shocking one. Because that had a lot of implication about their relationship and all this other stuff, and a lot of the whole blame game came out. It's like she says, like, "Hey, I wouldn't have been a Hulk if it wasn't for you. If I didn't fall in love with you, we would have never gotten to this point in the first place." And then the whole aspect of her alter ego when she changed into Red She-Hulk, it got even worse because Red She-Hulk is saying it was really letting Doc Green know it's like, you don't know how much Hulk played on her insecurities and how much damage you did to her. Granted, I'm sick of protecting her, and that's how aware Red She-Hulk was of Betty. She was sick of protecting her from her insecurities. It wasn't the fact that she needed the gamma radiation to be strong. It was just more along the lines. It's like Red She-Hulk was more of a manifestation of all her insecurities of Betty trying to protect herself from her insecurities. And Red wasn't going down without fighting. It was like, no, you're not making her back into that mess and letting her go through all this PSTDs and everything on my watch. And that was a major fight. That eventually, because he was in his Doc mind frame, which is the most intelligent mind frame that a Hulk can be in, he eventually find a way to talk Red down to cure them. Because he had to do some weird psychological analysis to get Red to understand it's like, no, this will be the best for both of you. And he literally apologized for everything that he did. It's like, I can't speak for Banner, but this, and this. And he kind of explained to her, by the time all of this was said and done, Banner would be dead. So you would be appeased. And that was the key thing about the end of the Doc Green saga. Banner was dying.
Right. And that was that from Hawkeye shot him in the head with an arrow? Yes, no.
That was Civil War II.
Right.
This was before all of that.
Okay.
That was before all of that.
Okay.
You know, Banner got shot in the head. Somebody, I forgot who actually put the bullet in his head and everything. But as he got shot, he was in the middle of changing.
Okay.
Because if he didn't change, he would have been dead. There would have been no more Hulk.
Okay, so this was there was a while where She-Hulk was like the dumb Hulk.
Yeah, that's when
and
that was after Civil War II when they brought her back.
Okay, so this was before all that.
Right. Doc Green was way before that.
Okay.
Let's see. She said, sorry guys, I played Kane and Loki is out. Yep. My youngest is says that if it's not featuring Agents of Smash, they're not Hulk. If they're not featured. That's true. Well, Red She-Hulk was not in Agents of Smash, so we didn't have Red She-Hulk, but you know, Thunderbolt was there as Red, A-Bomb was there, Scar was there, and no, Lyra didn't show up either.
Yeah, I think I saw 1 or 2 episodes of that. I was just so excited when Disney Plus launched. I could go back and watch the old 90s Hulk, Iron Man, Fantastic Four cartoons that I kind of forgot about the modern ones. I just watched those.
Again, the 90s Iron Man where Tony Stark had the mullet. I love the season 2 intro. That season 1 intro was just so generic, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, why did I ever watch the Marvel Action Hour back as a kid?"
Yeah, I don't know. I think I liked because all of them were so interconnected. You know, like Iron Man would show up in Fantastic Four. He would show up in Hulk. Every once in a while, the Avengers would show up. It was kind of neat seeing all that. And then if you watch Spider-Man, man, the people who did Spider-Man ignored all that stuff. They're like, we're doing our own thing.
Well, Fox did everything right except for the Avengers. Because Fox had Spider-Man in the 90s, and that was good, fine, good, and dandy. They had, you know, our beloved X-Men in the 90s. But they also had Avengers. And how can you have the Avengers without Cap, Thor, and Hulk?
Yeah.
It's like all things, it was a Hank Pym-led Avengers team. It just didn't fit right.
No. That's like the leather jacket Avengers. It just wasn't right.
A patch of leather jacket Avengers. The bomber jacket Avengers, leather bomber jacket Avengers that just didn't look right. And out of all people, it's like, how does Crystal fit in? How does Crystal and the Inhumans fit into that group? It just didn't work.
Crystal from the Inhumans is like, she has the worst taste in men of any comic book character.
Yeah.
She went from Johnny Storm to Quicksilver on purpose. It's like, what?
I just up here, it's like, what is up with this whole kind of bad boy image that she's liking in that aspect here?
I never got it. I was like, okay. But then I never understood the attraction to Johnny Storm in the comics, aside from, you know, he's supposed to be like the cool kid circa 1963. So,
what's up, Brad? How's it going?
Hello.
But again, Johnny, to be quite honest, Johnny really, Johnny was supposed to be like kind of like the bounty bond, everybody was trying to get with him, but you really didn't see him try to, fall in love all too much outside of like the relationship that he had with Crystal and him trying to take Alicia away from Ben. It turned out the Alicia that he fell in love with was a scroll.
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know what's going. I don't read a lot of current Fantastic Four or X-Men or anything, but I'll see stuff online, and every time I scroll past a page and they show Johnny Storm with that handlebar mustache now, I just laugh. I'm like, what is this? This is a bunch of 40-year-olds and older trying to draw what they think a cool young man looks like now.
A handlebar mustache on Johnny Storm. They just up here just having too much fun.
And I saw a clickbait article where they were talking about with the new movie coming out, how long is it going to be before Ben Grimm has a beard in the comic? I was like, he's had a beard in the comic like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, we could barely hear you. You got the mic. We could barely hear you. Just turn it up a little bit. Okay. Your mic is still low. Yeah, her mic is still low. I believe she had her headphones in.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that back in the day, I mean, just some of the relationships that happened back in the day, you kind of wonder what's going on.
Oh yeah. And it was a thing with Marvel books back then. It was like everybody had a relationship, and you're like trying to figure them all out. Like, what exactly did Misty Knight see in Iron Fist?
I don't know.
I was like, seriously, you're a beautiful, proud African American woman. Why are you with this pasty blonde-headed kid who makes no sense?
Well, it's not just that. It wasn't just that. It was just the time frame, because again, people don't remember that Misty Knight was originally a Spider-Man character.
Mm-hmm.
She was a police officer in Spider-Man who eventually, became her own private detective after a couple of dealings with Spider-Man and some of the villains and everything, and eventually she got her bionic arm.
Yep.
And everything, but that I just don't understand. I don't understand. I had it on. Oh yeah. People don't remember about She-Hulk and John Jameson. That was another one. It's like, why would you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Well, we did.
It went out. The mic went out again. It was there and it went out.
I was hoping this was going to be like the old kung fu movies where we would see her and then we would hear it.
Oh, the lip sync.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me see what if I can. Give me a minute.
Okay. Yep, there it is. It happened. It is out of sync. It is out of sync. The video and audio is out of sync. So you got your wish, Cliff.
Excellent. I wish I could live life like that. Yeah, or it was all of them. Like, okay, I understood a lot of the X universes stuff. It was like we got to keep everybody in house with the relationships, but then it made no sense. Like Dazzler and Longshot, or whoever
Dazzler
and
Longshot made sense once they were stuck in Mojo. That actually made sense.
Yeah.
So yeah. So she's saying that she's trying out these other headphones right now. But yeah, Dazzler Longshot made sense once they was in Mojo World, but when they got back, it didn't make any sense.
That is one Marvel villain that I wish people got a better handle on, because I think Mojo is creepy as hell and would make a great like big bad villain if he'd ever get consistent writing. It's like every time a new creator pulls him out of mothballs, it's, do we make him funny or do we make him scary? Do we do this? Do we do that? And I think because his visual, he looks disgusting. Every time I look at him, I want to go eat some butter and go hide in the bed. But he never gets like a consistent character where you could fear him when he shows up.
Well, that's the whole thing. It's like I don't think it's something that would he's not. If I could say it this way, I would be more afraid of Spiral than Mojo.
Yeah.
Even though Mojo was more powerful than Spiral.
Yeah.
And the only reason being is that Mojo only cared about whatever he was trying to do at that time for the fact of entertainment value.
Right.
I mean, when you truly think about it, I just don't understand why the cartoon portrayed him as like the ultimate sleazebag producer of television, of galactic television.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why the X-Men cartoon did that. He was a lot more than that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in a way, you're really dealing with an intergalactic version of Arcade.
Right. And I'll give them credit, when the Saw movies hit, they at least tried to make Arcade more serious and more like that for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have done the same. They could have picked up the same theme with Mojo, and they just didn't. And I think he's a great villain. But outside of that, it's like, eh.
Well, what they did with Mojo in Excalibur was kind of like what Mojo really was. And that's the reason why I made that comparison to him being an intergalactic Arcade.
Right. You're talking about the old original Excalibur?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. I really enjoyed that series. Rachel Summers is my favorite X character. So anytime she shows up in something, I at least give it a little bit of attention.
Well, that was Rachel before she became Ascani.
Yeah, I pretend that never happened.
But again, I have to admit it happened. It happened,
Yeah.
But again, the whole thing with Rachel and Nate, it's like the storyline just like, it's like you shouldn't have to do, if I can say, children like that.
Right.
You shouldn't have to make children where it's like, oh, kids raising kids. It's like the older sister had to raise the younger brother, or sent into an alternate dimension where the younger brother had to get healed. And then they have to learn about the parents via textbooks because they're already dead. I was like, no.
Or what was it? You take the parents and pull them from their point in time and put them in their minds in a different body, and they raise him for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
That was about the time I had to step away completely from the X books. They quit making any sense.
Oh, it got worse.
I know.
It got worse.
I know, and I don't know. I was so disappointed with they couldn't pull the trigger completely on Onslaught being the dark side of Professor X and just leave it as that. They had to throw in there, oh, it's Magneto's corruption. Like, no, it worked just fine with the idea that this good saintly man lost it. That works just fine. We don't have to put in the evil of Magneto, who, at the end of the day, you cannot convince me, I don't care what you do, that a Holocaust survivor is a villain. You just can't do that. So I don't know. That was where it started to lose the plot for me. I really liked the whole idea of Onslaught, but then when it was like, no, it's Professor Magneto, I was like, I'm out.
Well, even with Professor Magneto, the part that I didn't like is, yeah, it could be the dark side of Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about Magneto was the fact that there was no, if I could say, inhibition. He had he had Magneto if he had no inhibition, which means that whatever evil Xavier is going to do, he's just going to do. He just won't.
Yeah.
Does he need Magneto's power? No, but that inhibition that Magneto could have, that could have been a game changer. But it's not how they wrote it.
Right.
They wrote it like it was a half and half. It's like, no, it didn't need to be a half and half.
Yeah, and I understood that they were building up towards the Heroes Reborn thing, so they had to try to like pull it all in together and make the story where this is why the Avengers and everybody's gone. But that ending with all of the non-mutants except for Scarlet Witch, who is a mutant, we're gonna jump in and all become Onslaught where we can get killed. I was like, that's a little bit of reaching right there. That was a bit of reaching for me. Of course, then that meant we got Rob Liefeld drawing everybody with no feet for a year. So
that is partially true. I would agree. That was partially true. That the whole thing with Cerebro was a whole nother thing, and then Cerebro actually had a manifestation of itself, becoming sentient.
Yep.
But the one thing that I always wanted, if we ever had a X-Men series where Xavier actually becomes evil, it would have been Xavier finally joining Cassandra Nova when he becomes evil. And it would be like his way of making amends to his only sister.
Right. Yeah, the Grant Morrison era of X-Men was very strange for me. I liked the beginning of it. I liked the Wild Sentinels and the Cassandra Nova, but all of the like weird mutants and everybody wears their costume now for the movie and everything. I just like, this was too Grant Morrison for me. I had to take a step back, but I liked the beginning of it. I really liked the new take on Sentinels. That was really cool to me. But yeah,
I like the concept of secondary mutation. Go ahead.
That's what made the Beast look like the Cowardly Lion for a while, right?
No. The secondary mutation with Beast was that he would not look like the Cowardly Lion. He was becoming the Cowardly Lion.
Oh, okay.
Not because of the experiment that made him look more like a beast. That was done while he was with the Avengers. That was man-made. But his mutant composition was slowly turning him more bestial.
Okay. Yeah, I read the first few arcs of Extreme X-Men from Claremont at that time. And I'm trying because they were talking about his secondary mutation in that a little bit, and I was reading it more than Morrison's X-Men. And I said that there was a lot wrong with Claremont's Extreme X-Men, but his version of Rogue, I think, was my favorite Rogue, where she had access to, she could pull up anybody she ever borrowed powers from. She had them like cataloged, and she could pull them up. So she was kind of like a more souped up version of Mimic from the Exiles, where she had like she had the ruby quartz for Cyclops' eye beams and everything. I was like, now that's kind of cool. But I think that only lasted a little while.
Well, that was the whole thing that they don't want to really rehash about her power, and the reason why Carol Danvers' power stuck for so long. Because her power set is really, it's not the fact that she touches you and gains somebody's power. It's like she touches you and she drains your life force. Now, if your life force also has powers based upon it, she also gets that. and she maintains it as long as her psyche is greater than yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons why she went to Xavier in the first place, because she was in that constant war, because she held on to Carol for so long. She pretty much almost took a lot of that Kree life force, and her psyche was having a hard time dealing with it, because for the longest she thought she was Carol.
Right.
She didn't know who she was or anything like that. And then when she finally won that battle, she still had enough of that ability where it stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it only happened to her one more time here, and I think it was dealing with kind of like Colossus.
Mm-hmm.
She held on to Colossus one too many times, and she gained, not the osmosium steel, that body that he has,
Mm-hmm.
but the immortality that he gets from it.
Right.
Because when he's in his steel form, he cannot die.
Mm-hmm.
And for a little bit of time, because she held on to his power for that long and was able to beat his psyche, she was technically immortal for a little bit. But they changed that part too.
Yeah. I always liked Colossus. Also, he was always a cool X character. I get a good laugh out of the modern version of him when he has a beard. He's still metal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's a little bit weird, but all right.
Yeah, the beard becomes metal too. I mean, he becomes the living steel. It's like, and that was the thing that always made me weary. It's like, oh, and then they made a female version of Colossus that also had the osmodium steel. I was like, wait, how does she have the ability? And it's like, how come that ability didn't pass down to Ilyana?
Mm-hmm.
Ilyana became, pretty much like a queen of hell, almost like a queen of hell, and becoming magic. But yet, I forgot what other relative that he had. It was like a cousin or something that became like a female version of him.
I don't. That one's past my X-Men knowledge. I just remember all of a sudden he had a long lost brother who was like an Omega level mutant or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. The X-Men are like, the X universe is like, my wife used to watch The Young and the Restless, the soap opera. The X universe is like Marvel's soap opera, because there's always a long lost cousin or brother that came in out of nowhere that you never knew about. And that happened like all the time, and it was a little bit. I'd be watching it with. I mean, in the South, you grow up with your grandma, and your grandma watches her stories. So we all have our soap operas we watch. And I was just always get a trip out of like, this happened and this character died, and then their exact duplicate, who's their long lost cousin no one knew about, came back. And I was like, this is the X-Men. Everybody's got like
the X-Men, especially in like the late 80s, early 90s. Because in the 2000s, that's where everything started changing. When it finally got to the point where X-Men was part of the main Marvel universe again, that there was no separation between the two universes, it got interesting, because technically I was waiting for them to write the final story about Xavier's dream being achieved, because now there was no separate designation between mutant and human. They were working alongside of people like, the Avengers and everything in the main Marvel universe. The Marvel universe wasn't fractured.
Right.
You had people like Wolverine being a new Avenger and stuff to that magnitude.
Wolverine as an Avenger never really fit in my head. It's like, out of all the X characters, he'd be the last one that I could see standing side by side with Captain America and Thor. But I mean, they wrote it. Bendis wrote it well enough that I was like, okay. But
well, that was the whole thing, because it wasn't really Thor that he was with. He was with Cap. Him and Cap go way back, so that was okay. But him being there with people like Spider-Man, Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, Luke Cage, Cap, and
Spider-Man.
I say Hawkeye, and by the time we got to the first Civil War, you now bring in people like Punisher and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, you bring in all these different soldiers on the new Avengers side, and you expect them to get along with Captain America leading them against Tony. This is going to be a mess.
Yeah.
I mean, Tony can't come directly to them and step up to them because they would kick his ass. But them being a cohesive unit, not going to happen.
Yeah, I think the last. No, I was going to say the last Avengers I really enjoyed was Busix, but I really, really like Jonathan Hickman's Avengers. I was never a big fan of
that.
It led all up to the new Secret Wars. I never liked the concept of the Illuminati because it made all of them less than heroes in my mind because they're all shady. But the way Hickman wrote it was like, all right, I have this, I have to play with it. It worked and it made sense way more than the original concept I think did. See, I never.
That's where I kind of disagree because the Illuminati should have only been around as long as Planet Hulk and World War Hulk was needed.
Well, I mean, they weren't going to get rid of it, so if they're not going to get rid of it, do something good.
I can't hear you. I give up. This is too hard. This is too hard. This is too hard. I'm done.
All right.
She's just having a hard time tonight here, folks.
Elaine.
It's if you can leave positive comments for her to say we've been there with technical difficulties. Computers are can be assholes at times. But the whole point of the Illuminati was to, in a way, to say that Civil War would have never happened if we had formed all this super group of elites over here that would control all the other major factions, I should say, because they took in consideration of all factions, I should say. So you had Reed for Fantastic Four, you had Tony,
Iron Man.
You had Tony, you had Namor, you had Black Bolt, you had Doctor Strange, and you had Xavier, and you had T'Challa.
Now,
it's messed up when Submariner leaves you, Namor leaves you,
yeah,
all because of what you were about to get ready to do with the Hulk. He was like, "No, that's inhumane. You want to capture the Hulk, send him in space, and then blow him up." No, I was like, no, it's like one of the mightiest heroes there is, and because you feel that y'all can't control him in certain aspects, you're going to dispose of him, and that's what led to, like, this Illuminati is not good. It really could lead down the road to a lot of evilness.
Well, now didn't Bendis retcon it where they were around all the way back to the Kree Skrull War?
To some degree, they never act on a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, okay. Because that was the time that they
never act on a lot of it.
Right. That was also the same time where it was like they retconned. There was a secret team of X-Men before the all different X-Men that Xavier mind wiped everybody about, and all this. They were just making all of their main characters so shady to me, and I was just like, this isn't adding layers to them. This is making them not likable. And I couldn't get with it.
See, that's one of the reasons why I'm glad that we're not talking, Marvel television and Marvel movies as of right now, because I feel as of right now, after watching Ironheart, that the writers for Marvel Studios do not know how to make female characters likable. They don't.
I can see that.
They don't.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I enjoy Ironheart, I went through that whole series looking at this. It's like they did not do really much of anything to make her a likable character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she changed at the end, but at the end, it's still like she really didn't, was held accountable for her actions here. She ended up making a deal with the big bad at the end, the true big bad of the series so far.
Mm-hmm.
I won't ruin who the big bad is, but it's somebody that Riri Williams should not have to deal with at this point.
Oh, okay.
That's how powerful he is.
Now they play her. Do they play her completely different than she was in Wakanda Forever? Or
Yes.
Okay.
Another reason why, just like, why did they do this? Why did they do what they did? And I get it. They was trying to make a good story around her to kind of give her more of the urban type story behind her character, but it fell into so many of the stereotypical nonsense that just make my skin crawl when it comes to one, writing female characters, and two, dealing with characters of different ethnicity.
Mm.
It is. It's like I have a sneaky suspicion that the guys writing the films and TV shows are in. Yep. She nailed it on the head.
Mm-hmm.
She nailed it on the head. They only used it as, oh, she did this at one time. Okay, we could write around that, but that's not how it worked. That's not how the canon works. Yeah.
Mephisto's the big bad of Ironheart.
Mephisto is the big bad of Ironheart.
That makes so much sense.
How?
Okay.
How does it make sense? I know you're being sarcastic.
That was my sarcasm voice.
I know. It's like you're being sarcastic right now. It's like they had it set up. They had it set up for somebody else to be the villain, but he was nothing more than puppets on a string when we find out that Mephisto was really there. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because the show throughout the whole first season 1, they were trying to figure out, well, what is the source of the main villain's power? And it kept throwing out Dormammu. I was like, okay, fine. We have a couple of Doctor Strange movies already. It kind of makes sense. You invite Cumberbatch back. You could deal with Dormammu and all this other stuff. That's the whole thing about science and magic.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Final episode of the season. After she beats the villain of the season, up pops Mephisto. I've been waiting to talk to you for a long time. And I was like, and she's up here looking at him and everything. It's like, is this some type of way to introduce yourself? It's like, I really don't know you. I don't even know your name. One thing I know here is that I suspect that the cloak came from somebody as powerful as Dormammu, and when he said his reaction, oh, Dormammu wished that he had the power that I wield. I'm like, what? I go by many names here. Many of them I hate. But for the meantime, you could call me Mephisto. I'm like, and my face just changed. It's like, how do you give this type of a big bad to Riri this early? Which led me to one of the things I don't want to talk about as of right now because it spoils something in season 1. But let's just say this. Going back to making likable characters, your main hero is not supposed to make a deal with the main big bad.
Yeah. I miss the days when like each like level of Marvel hero had their own set big bad. Like all the street level characters, no matter what's going on, the Kingpin is the ultimate big bad. You know, you move a little bit higher up on the list, it might be the Masters of Evil. Moves this up and that up, and you know, eventually you get to the Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer, Thor level where Loki and Mephisto and all of them are that's the level of bad guy you're at. But not anymore.
Nope.
I miss that. It's good to have levels because you have levels of hero. Like I don't expect the Punisher to go one-on-one with the Abomination.
But it happens.
It
happens. You don't expect the Punisher to go hand to hand to the hand, you know, with the hand and then eventually lead the hand.
That's what I'm saying. I
Here.
miss the days when they had their own little levels of stuff. Like, okay, Luke Cage, his power set and everything, you could put him, he's a little bit higher than the Kingpin. He could go to Latveria and tell Dr. Doom, "Where's my money, honey?" You know, he's got that level of power. But all the rest of them, they need to stay in their lane. And I miss that. It made a little bit more sense to me.
Okay, Elaine said another problem is that you have actors who also don't know the source material, unlike Tom Hiddleston, aren't going to take the time and do the research and then craft the character that works. That's also true too. That's also true too. But the thing with Ironheart and they had what I consider a couple of good possible villains already set up here. And the segue into season 2 kind of spoke volumes about the character that played another Marvel villain / anti-hero. You're like, well, who could that be? The puppet that Mephisto was controlling was the Hood. So it made sense for her to fight the Hood. Right. Because she was trying to figure out, well, it's like, what is going on with this cloak and how is he shooting all these magic bullets that's curving and doing all this weird stuff and able to do X, Y, and Z? Because she was trying to use science to detect magic. And eventually she ended up meeting up with people that knew actual magic. So now she has a suit that is powered off of magic now. And that's how she ended up defeating the Hood. In doing that, Pop, here's the real big bad. Impressive. I've been waiting for you. You have desire, this, that, and the other. You have talent. I want to give you the tool to give you whatever you want. Being how that big bad really is. I was like, man. And then the other possible villain that showed up, surprisingly enough, was Ezekiel Stain. Jebediah Stain's son.
Really?
So he shows up. So I was like, oh, they kind of got along with one another, this, that, and the other, and they kind of set it up where Riri did something to kind of betray him, and now he doesn't like her because now he got in trouble because of it. Because people don't know that Jebediah Stane was really a major bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
People kept referencing him as this upstanding citizen who did everything that he could to help Tony Stark and everything to build his empire. That's like, oh yeah, I have to go back to Iron Man 1. They covered all that up about Ironmonger.
Mm-hmm.
So only Riri and Ezekiel know what actually happened with Ironmonger. Ezekiel hates all Iron people in Iron Man suits. At first, he didn't want to help her. He ended up helping her on the auspice of this tech cannot be discovered by anybody else. She messed up on that. Somebody else discovered the tech at a crime scene. He goes to jail.
Oh, okay. So
now the puppet goes and breaks him out of jail. It's like, okay, I'm going to break you out of jail. Now I'm going to give you the funding to go and help me kill Riri. I need your tech. So he designed something, and it was effective. And that's all I'm leaving. That's where I'm leaving it at.
Okay.
But
I lost faith in the writers and everything, real understanding their characters. I mean, I did a little bit with Shang-Chi just because I was such a fan of the James Bond Kung Fu Master as opposed to whatever that movie was. But when I watched She-Hulk and they introduced the Wrecking Crew, and these are people who on their own go toe-to-toe with Thor, and they were like just a joke throwaway villain for one episode. I was like, these people have no clue what they're doing. That really bugged me.
Again, they did what they did because they're dealing with two different audiences. As comic book readers, we want what we want. But I don't put it past regular TV watchers and movie watchers not being able to understand what the real Wrecking Crew can do.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can tell them and they can show them, but that takes effort, and they won't do it. But yeah, when I saw those little skinny guys that I could beat up all at once, I was like, no, please stop. Because as goofy as the whole idea of a dude with a magic crowbar is, the Wrecking Crew were a cool set of villains. I always enjoyed when they showed up in the comic.
But that was the whole thing. The Wrecking Crew, even they were skinny, even though they were skinny. Once they had their tools of wrecking, they became something else. When we saw the Wrecker with the so-called crowbar, there was no change in him. He was just like, oh, he's just a wannabe construction person with a magic crowbar swinging it away. We didn't even get to see the true Thunderball. Thunderball was there, but we didn't get to see the actual the enchanted Thunderball that made Thunderball. We didn't really get to see the Wrecking Crew. We saw the shadows of it.
Yeah, and I'm trying to go back and remember my official handbook stuff now. Thunderball was like an engineer or something too. He was like one of the big brains of the Marvel Universe. Yeah.
And you think Thunderball couldn't handle Jennifer? Think again.
Yeah.
Thunderball went toe to toe with Iron Man and almost won.
Yeah.
So
I hear screaming in my house. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, it's happy screaming, not fighting screaming. Okay.
It's like, oh, okay. Somebody's actually happy that they actually won something, not screaming in terror and agony because somebody got into somebody else's stuff.
Around here, I never know. The two youngest, they literally fist fight over everything. So I have to keep an ear out for what I hear. So
Just make them
Yeah,
sign a contract where you have pay-per-view rights so you could be a rich man.
I may do that. but yeah, I don't know. I'm so burnt out of the Marvel cinematic stuff. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back and watch any of the stuff I've missed. I think I might just wait for the next Avengers movie, and if it catches my eye, I'll watch it, and if not, I enjoyed what I saw. So
I still have to watch the third Spider-Man movie because I love Homecoming, I love Far Away from Home, and the only reason I love those two because those are the two closest Spider-Man movies that got me back to Dicko Spider-Man. That's why I forever love Spectacular Spider-Man that was on the WB, because that was it's essentially the closest thing you was going to get to Dicko Spider-Man.
You're speaking my language now. When my oldest was growing up, Saturday morning we'd eat pancakes and watch Spectacular Spider-Man and sing the theme song.
Living on the edge, finding Christ anywhere.
Yeah.
Because,
And I found the entire series on DVD at a dollar store not too long
Cool.
ago, and I bought it. So I'm happy. But yeah, we
People don't
enjoyed
realize
that
how good that series was. Just like for those who had Disney XD and you like the Avengers, you wanted to watch Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, not Avengers Assemble. Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes was the closest thing to comic book Avengers.
John still watches Spidey.
John still watches Spider-Man, Spidey and his amazing friends. Yep.
I do too. I do too. And I was really happy when they introduced Firestar into the main Marvel universe as a comic character. And I thought it was funny because I remember leading up to it in Wizard magazine, everyone was convinced that the character that had never been in the Marvel universe before that they were going to bring in for the Avengers was going to be Hawkman. Everyone was convinced they worked out a deal with DC to bring in Hawkman, and it was Firestar. Which made me happy. I liked Firestar, but yeah, I remember when they were talking about that.
Angelica Jinx.
I also remember. I'm glad they have it on Disney Plus now. The forgotten about Spider-Man cartoon where it was just Spider-Man from the 80s.
Oh, you talk about like 19, I want to say 79 to 80 Spider-Man that was on ABC.
Right
before it became Amazing Friends.
Yes. Yeah, that's on Disney, and I enjoyed watching that because it was, it was always some random villain he fought, and it was like in one of them he fought Magneto just out of nowhere. But yeah, that was I liked that cartoon too. And the 80s Hulk cartoon that came on after Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Do you remember Spider-Woman from the 70s, the cartoon?
Oh yeah, it's on Disney Plus. We watch it now.
Yeah.
I wish they had the old early 70s, late 60s cartoons where it was basically just motion comics on there.
The reason I brought up Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew Spider-Woman, because they had Spider-Man 67. It wasn't the modern day Spider-Man that we got a couple of years later. It was 67 Spider-Man that showed up. I was like, oh wow. They went old school Spider-Man, not what we were going to eventually get for like his own series and for Amazing Friends.
Right. Yeah. And 1960s Spider-Man cartoon had some of the I remember when I was little, some of the scenes in it were a little bit creepy for a cartoon back then. I loved all of those old Spider-Man cartoons. And I remember I liked Spider-Woman. I wish they would have done more with it because I had really enjoyed the Spider-Woman too. But it had its time in the sun.
But they changed a lot. They changed a lot in that one because she was an aunt to somebody's kid, and then she was some type of weird. She was a reporter for a fictional magazine, which is like, yeah, right. You're trying not to make it Peter Parker. I get it.
Right. But I've been playing this new Spider-Man 2 PS5 game recently, talking about Spider-Man, and it is the most. I'm very upset because I got it about the same time that Warner Media released the Gotham Knights game, where you could play as everybody except Batman because he was supposedly dead. And I was so upset with that game because Dick Grayson moved like a 97-year-old man with rickets when he was jumping around and stuff. And then I played Spider-Man, and it's like fluid, and man. I quit doing the missions on there. I just swing through the city because it's so relaxing. And it made me so upset because I would much rather if they made the Batman, the Gotham Knights like this. And since I can see you can do it, it was just laziness. But my youngest likes Spider-Man, so when I play it, she sits in there and tells me what to do. So, or her favorite thing is because as you progress through the game, you get to unlock all these different Spider-Man costumes for Miles and for Peter, and she's constantly, "Daddy, put on that other costume. I just changed 10 minutes ago. Leave me alone."
That's hilarious. Speaking of which, I still have to play the Miles game.
I haven't played it yet because my GameStop that's nearby. I'm friendly with the people there, and they told me not to waste my money on it because it was one of those games that was supposed to be DLC that they turned into a full game. So I never played it, but when it pops up for free on my PlayStation Plus account, I'm probably going to download it.
Well, that's how I got it. I got it because it did come out for free for PlayStation Plus back in the day for PlayStation Plus. Now they got all these different levels of PlayStation Plus. I don't have the latest and greatest one to get the full library of free games. I have to wait until they put it up there for free for the second or third lowest tier. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm still in my original, whatever that bottom tier one is, and I get my 2 free games a month. I still have my PS2, 3, and 4, so I'm not that hyped up about getting a membership to play games I can play on without it. So I'm waiting.
Well, I haven't got a PS5 as of yet. Everybody's up here is like, "Oh, you need to get a PS5. You need to get a PS5. You need to get a PS5." It's like, what's the real difference between a 4 and a 5? To me, graphics are not everything. It's just like I just need, some type of good game. Some good games that I would be interested in that is only exclusive to PlayStation 5, and I might think about it.
The main thing I've noticed to me is the lack of loading screens is so much better. And I'll be honest, the only reason I have a PS5 is my oldest got a job where she makes way more money than anyone that's in their 20s with no bills should make, and she gave it to me for Father's Day one year. That was the only reason I got. That was the only reason I got one. And as soon as she gave it to me, I said, "Thank you, dear. I love you. What do you want?"
That's when you went to the store and got Daughter of the Year mugs for her.
Yes. Oh, but yeah, I like the lack of loading screens, but outside of that, it's not that much different than my PS4. Aside from, I like the controller better. It doesn't feel like I'm going to break it like I do with the PS4 one sometimes.
That's true. And she say I missed the 60s, the 60 and that jazz track. Yep. And my goddaughter plays Baldur's Gate on my PC. That's another good RPG series, Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, my oldest, she likes getting games and claims that she wants to play them, but she never gets past like the tutorial levels. Like she bought the deluxe edition of Baldur's Gate, and I think she's had like 4 hours of playtime on it. So
As long as she doesn't get like how I am. It's like I bought a game on my laptop and I know it had came out for like the Xbox One.
mm,
And I still love this game no matter what, but I haven't brought myself to really sitting down to truly beating every last level of it because it's just that time consuming.
hmm
You remember Cuphead?
Yes, I remember Cuphead. Yes.
Cuphead is still the game, but it's like it gives you that old school feeling of Nintendo hard.
hmm Yeah, my girls like to play the new version of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, where you know like the one that you ate so many quarters in the 80s.
I'm just trying to picture the new version of it.
It's basically the same game. It just runs a little bit better, and there are more characters you can play. Like you can play as Yojimbo and April and stuff like that. But it's pretty much the same game. You're still going sideways across the
What, the
screen.
Palooza game? You talking about the Palooza game? The something Palooza game where you got
No,
April and Splinter and Casey Jones and everything?
Shredder's Revenge is the name of it.
Shredder's Revenge?
hmm
I think I played that.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it reminds me of the old arcade game. It's fun to play. But my girls, they fight about everything, and they get mad if one of them gets the health pizza before the other one does, whether they needed it or not. And I'm like, okay, we're done. We're done.
See, they couldn't play with me back in the arcade days, especially if it was Turtles in Time.
hmm
People don't remember, there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game, and then the second arcade game that came out for Turtles was Turtles in Time.
hmm
Turtles in Time was the stuff.
Oh yeah, I fondly remember the days when you'd go to the arcade and the newest whatever game was out, and you would go up to the cabinet and you would put your quarter
Mm-hmm.
in line with everybody else's quarters because I got next. Yeah.
See, these young kids will never know that feeling like that.
Mm-mm.
They would never know games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or The Simpsons arcade or G.I. Joe the arcade.
Oh, I forgot about G.I. Joe the arcade.
Yep. We had Duke, Snake Eyes, Roadblock, and Scarlet.
Mm-hmm. We
or
have
Spider-Man the arcade game.
My girls have actually played that because I have an arcade emulator, and it had it
She
on
loves
it.
Galaga. It's like I'm a Galaga nut.
Yes, we have near our house we have an old a retro arcade,
Uh-huh.
and they have the old Simpsons arcade cabinet, and we'll go play it. And hey man, it is true to life like an old school arcade because half the buttons on it don't work.
I can't jump. Oh my goodness, I can't jump. How are we going to get past this building because I can't jump?
Yes. So they at least know some of my pain. But yeah, they don't understand the arguments you would get into at the arcade.
They would still never know the joy of Welcome to Die from 6-player X-Men, the double screen 6-player X-Men game, or the whole thing about Spider-Man the arcade, or the Cowboys of Moon Mesa. I mean, it was a lot of games out there. See, I don't paint them as like Sailor Moon fans, but yeah, there was a Sailor Moon arcade game where you played as the Sailor Scouts. It was just like, it was just so much, out there. Captain America and the Avengers by Data East,
where you could play as the solid white Vision.
Exactly, with the laser, the laser that is supposed to be coming from his head, but it looks like it's coming from his mouth.
Yes. Yeah, I skipped out of quite a few movies I was supposed to be seeing with friends to play in the arcade, to play Avengers and X-Men. Because in the X-Men game, you could play as Nightcrawler, and it had the old school Storm costume on it.
Mm-hmm. The 1980s, the late 70s, early 80s Storm costume.
The pre-Mohawk costume. Yeah.
Yeah, pre-Mohawk.
Yeah. Ah, yes.
And then they had the leotard Dazzler, Cyclops in the old blue, and then Colossus sound like he's taking a dump every time he uses his mutant ability.
I'm gonna have to go hunt. I'm gonna have to hunt down that game on something and pull it out to play.
Well, I know the last time I heard about the X-Men 6-player arcade game, there was a person trying to recreate it for the Sega Saturn.
Oh, okay.
And it was supposed to be getting close to arcade perfect. But I think Xbox Live used to have it. I'm not certain if it's out there or on PlayStation Network again. I just don't know.
Yeah, well, I still have my Xbox 360.
Yeah, it was out. It was out for the 360 too.
I might have to see if I can hunt it down. There's this guy.
It's like there was a guy in LA that makes custom floor model machines that would load with with your favorite arcade games. Cool. Nice. Yeah, the bikini with the cape and high boots. Yes, it was that. It was that outfit.
Yes. Those were some fun games. Trying to think, there was the Michael Jackson game in the arcade. Moonwalker. That was a trip. I remember playing that one, and then when Mortal Kombat came out, nobody played it anymore because we all went to play Mortal Kombat.
Again, during that time, I was a big Street Fighter 2 head, and then Mortal Kombat came out, and it's like either you liked it or you hated it. I was like in that meh because I didn't like the idea of a block button.
Yeah, it took me a long time to get used to the block button.
She said she wanted to dye her hair white as a kid because of Storm.
Yeah, I ran around with red underoos on and suspenders, trying to look like Colossus myself as a little one. So. I didn't fill it out as well as he did, but I tried.
Yeah, you tried. That's all you could. Yeah. That's all you can ask.
Of course, before my mother passed, she always would get a good laugh out of pulling out the old photo album and showing a picture of me when I was like 5, and I had on my Flash underoos and a Darth Vader helmet, and was running.
Darth Speedster.
Yes, I thought I was something special.
Wow, that's hilarious. Yes. But then again, I remember all the underrules, the Spider-Man one, and then the Superman one, the Batman one.
Yep. Yeah, and that was, and they still have them now for adults because we're all grown kids now. I went in Hot Topic once, and they had a whole line of adult size underoos. I was like, that's awesome. I'm not spending $40 on it though.
But then if you did buy it, how are you going to admit to other people that you still have something that is kind of like that dorky that you want to wear? That's just something that just like, eh.
Most of the people who know me would just accept, yeah, that's just Cliff, and just go about the day. But yeah,
let's say I actually had a book for tonight and a review for Love, Death, and Rockets for tonight. I am heartbroken. Yeah, Yeah, I keep forgetting we need to get back to reviews, but we've been covering a lot of good comic book stuff tonight, as a whole here.
Yeah. Well, Elaine, next week you start the show off with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In some comic news, I found out and had a small nerdgasm. The local big comic convention in the Memphis area, the Memphis Comic Expo, this September released their guest list, and James Robinson is going to be here, and I damn near had a stroke. I was so happy.
If you had a stroke, how come you here?
I said damn near. Because I've got to dig through this mountain of books back here and find my JSA #1 and Starman #1 for him to sign. So I'm very excited to meet Mr. Robinson.
That would be a worthwhile thing here, and even more worthwhile if you had the money to get it encapsulated where it could be enshrined.
Mm-hmm. And I'm also going to tell him that no matter what critics and other fans said, I liked your Justice League if no one else did.
It was interesting. I would say that.
It was interesting. I mean, I like the whole idea of, it was Dick Grayson and Supergirl and Donna instead of Clark, Diana, and Bruce. And
it made sense. That makes sense. It's a passing of mantles, and that's what people hated about it.
Yes, and a lot of people are like, oh, he always has to introduce some character no one cares about. I was like, look, I like the fact Con Gorilla was a member of the Justice League. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I greatly enjoyed that series, and I'm sad that it ended because of the New 52. I may dig that out and have him sign it too if I can find it.
Well, New 52 had its ups and downs. I just got tired of all the reboots from DC. I really did.
I know they would never do it, but my biggest issue, aside from it, was just it felt like everything had to be like grim and gritty at some point in the New 52. My big thing is we're no longer in the era where everything has to be rebooted. We live in the era where everything exists on the internet. You can just say, this is the direction we're going in, and this is what we're writing, and leave everything else where it was, where if the next creative team comes in and wants to play with it, they can. But I think we're way past the era where we have to reboot stuff. And I don't think it was needed. But that was my angry old comic book man coming out. So
I would say this here. There's a lot of crayons in the crayon box. There are a lot of toys in the toy chest.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, a lot of creators don't want to use somebody else's stuff. I mean, it's a lot there where you don't have to reboot everything. You could, if you could just go back, do your homework, do your research, you could make great stories based upon what had already been established. You don't have to boot something just because, oh, I want to write it this way and I don't want what has already been made canon or in continuity ruining what I'm trying to do. It's like, then that tells me that you're not a great writer.
Mm-hmm. I always go to the example, Christopher Priest's Black Panther did not ignore any of Black Panther's history. They even had King Solomon's Frog in there from that weird Jack Kirby time. And if you're a good enough writer, you can make it all fit. And if you're not, you ignore it and let somebody else play with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't, it should be that way now. I mean, I think it should have always been that way, but especially now where all I have to do is pull up my phone and learn this, that, and the other about something. You don't have to reboot everything.
Elaine said, hug Mr. Robinson for her.
Look,
yeah,
my friends who run that,
I'm going to say this: just hug him, but don't do what Elaine would do. Elaine would probably goose him.
Look, my friends who help run that convention have already told me that I am not
That would
allowed
be
to
interesting
kidnap.
fight.
Yes. My friends have already told me I'm not allowed to kidnap James Robinson and make him write Starman in my basement. So
Boo.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to hug him or not. They may keep me at a distance, but yes, I might let my kids hug him for me.
Yeah, yeah. I would not mind seeing that fight here.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, are we talking about Super Chicken after he drinks the super sauce versus Underdog after he eats his Underdog energy pellet? That would be the question here. Because on the surface level, Underdog beats Super Chicken before he drinks super sauce.
Yes. My kids did not believe me there was such a thing as Super Chicken. And I pulled it up on YouTube just for nothing else where I could hear the theme song again. And
the Super Chicken.
And they just stared at me. I love Super Chicken. And for some reason, every time people talk about Underdog is brought up, I always remember this one episode of Underdog where the evil professor in it, that I can't remember his name right now, did something where if you went into a phone booth, it turns you into a robotic slave, and Underdog ran into one to change and it fell over, and he had this big red light traffic cone thing on his head, and he was a bad guy.
What was the name of that? I forgot the invention that Simon Bar Sinister made. It was an invention that Simon Bar Sinister made. Yeah, I remember Simon Bar Sinister and Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it wasn't Cad. It was either Cad or Chad. I can't remember.
I think it was Chad. I have not watched Underdog in at least 100 years.
I got the words to the theme song. I sing it occasionally to try to give Simon Bar Sinister. Yep.
Yeah.
And I still stick with my assertion that Rudy Giuliani, after he is no longer the mayor of New York, eventually changed into Simon Bar Sinister. He just looks too much like him now. Before when he was mayor, he didn't look like that, but now it's just like I see pictures of him. It's like, man, that is just Simon Bar Sinister.
Yeah, well, after mayor of New York, what else are you going to do? Become an evil scientist? So.
In his case, an evil lawyer.
Yeah.
He said, makes sense to me.
Nope. Works for me. But yes.
When I stand still, I'm right as rain. But when I move around, the ground goes round and round. You making me think about Underdog episodes where Simon Bar Sinister gave Underdog vertigo.
Yes. Underdog was a trip. There were so many cartoons back in that time that they were all basically the same cartoon, just with a different animal.
Yep.
But they were all so trippy. And then everything was a Scooby-Doo ripoff. You had Jabberjaw, you had Josie and the Pussycats, and Inch High Private Eye, and all of that. And it was like, these are some of these strangest cartoons. But they were all so great.
You want to know what was definitely a ripoff comic, a cartoon? Mm-hmm. Can remember Josie and the Pussycats and everything was still Hanna-Barbera.
Mm-hmm.
The one that was like, Scooby-Doo, that was on that ripoff type deal that most people forgot about, was called Rickety Rocket.
I remember Rickety Rocket. Yes.
It was set in the future, and it was like late 70s, set in the future, and it had African American leads to it. It was just like, wow, this is just it's not right, but it was like, it kind of fit.
Mm-hmm. And I always remember there was one, what was it called? Fang Face? Or it was about the werewolf?
Yes.
But it wasn't the full moon. All he had to do was see a picture of a moon, and he would change.
Change, yeah. And the thing about his face his fangs were buck tooth.
Yeah.
It was right there in the middle. Like, how can you be a buck tooth vampire? That just doesn't make any sense.
My oldest out of all of those, she liked Hong Kong Phooey and The New Adventures of the Shmoo.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That I remember this Mew from the Flintstones Family Hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember him from, but I don't remember his own cartoon.
Yeah, he had it was on the Boomerang Network for a little while, and she would watch it and just dance to the theme song and laugh. And I could sit down and I was like, I remember watching this, and I could sit down and watch it with her, and it'd be a good time. But yeah, she liked that. She liked those two.
Fang Face was adorable. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
See,
and let's not forget.
Go ahead.
You cannot forget the unfortunately stereotyped Amazing Chan clan.
Yeah. I don't know why I remember a lot of the Ruby Spears cartoons, but one of my favorite ones that I remember watching a lot was Mighty Man and Yuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's like people don't remember that Yuck is actually a dog who actually had to wear a doghouse over its own head because it was supposed to be the ugliest dog that anybody actually saw.
Yes.
And when somebody actually pulled the doghouse off of his head, it just passes out in fear.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember that one. And there was, what was the one where the kid turned into a sports car?
Turbo Team.
Yes. And that something about his
he turns into a car, and when he's cooled off, he goes back.
Yes. And it was like the way they animated him transforming was actually really kind of creepy for that era.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they never truly explained how that experiment worked that he accidentally crashed into.
No, because they didn't know how it worked. They just wanted to make the cartoon.
Well, they explained it because the pilot explained it, and they showed us what actually happened, and then the introduction showed what actually happened, but they never said what military experiment it really was because they were testing some type of matter beam. You know, he comes crashing through the lab, from the air, and he intersected the beam while he was driving the car, and they became one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And they never said what military project was that because it's like, why would he merge with the car if the beam wasn't meant for that?
Old cartoons. Yeah, there's I came across one when I was going through cartoon archives that I'd forgotten completely about was the old cartoon Jace and the Wheeled Warriors.
Yes. Saul Boss.
Yes, and that one I went back and watched a few episodes, and I was like, those villains are actually really freaky looking.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were all like plant-based and stuff. It was really weird.
Just like in Humanoids.
Oh man, I loved Inhumanoids. I love that cartoon. The toys were too expensive when I was little to buy any of them, but I love the cartoon.
But the cartoon is just like, man, the stuff that they had to fight was like, this is toxic environment. It's like, how are you guys going to fight something like that, and keep a straight face about it? It's like, if you did not have the right protective clothing, you just dead. You just dead.
Yes, and like they had the one character that if he touched you, you rotted and turned into a zombie, and and there was one that his stomach filled full of blood and stuff, and I was like, looking back on it now, I was like, how did this get made?
Because it's like all the villains were like walking biohazards.
Yes. Yeah, they could all be Captain Planet villains.
Yep. I guess that's probably the way that they came up with Captain Planet, but they made it where it's about everyday life instead of in a like a apocalyptic future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the funny thing is because that Inhumanoids was a Sunbow series.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the same universe as Jim and the Holograms.
It was to say in the same universe as G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Visionaries.
Yep. Yeah, because if you I like Jim and the Holograms. If you watched, there would be news reports in the background, and you would see the dudes fighting the Inhumanoids.
That's messed up.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, Cobra Commander showed up on G.I. Joe a few times.
No, you mean Transformers?
Yeah, Transformers. That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, showed up on Transformers a couple
They
times.
don't make terrorists like they used to. You know, Cobra Commander was also the voice of Starscream.
Yes. And when I finally learned that, I was like, how did I not know that when I was little? Because they sounded pretty much exactly alike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He was talking about Coco the Clown.
Coco the
cartoon. Coco the Clown. Wait. Did Coco the Clown also show up in G.I. Joe?
He might have.
The Games Master, the clown thing that the Games Master was talking to.
I think you're right. Oh yes, I remember Coco the Clown now. I had to Google it and look at him. Mm-hmm. Yes, I remember Coco the Clown. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I remember that. But Elaine, I know you can't join us right now, but I wanted to let you know my little ones are watching The Last Unicorn right now.
That's hopefully a good sign here.
Yes,
it's quiet.
I like The Last Unicorn. It's a good movie. I hope they like it too. Even though that scene with the lady tree was weird as hell, it was still a good movie.
And she's saying yes.
Yes, they're watching that, and hopefully I'm going to have them watch The Secret of NIMH sometime this weekend.
They should enjoy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they really enjoyed Fern Gully when I had them watch it, so hopefully they'll like these. They didn't care for they didn't care for the Black Cauldron when I made them watch it, but can't win.
Well, Black Cauldron is a acquired taste only because of the puppetry.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like the Never Ending Story is another one that is kind of like acquired taste.
Yeah, they like the first Never Ending Story. My wife still cries when the horse dies.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't care. Nobody in the household seemed to care for the sequels, which I'm okay with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was just saying Ferngully was fun.
Ferngully is very
Black Cauldron has flaws. Yep, mm-hmm. I agree.
I'm really going to torture him soon. I'm going to make him sit down and watch The Black Hole with me.
I'm just laughing.
Yes. Black Hole with Maximilian in it. I want to see their thoughts on Disney's attempt at making a Star Wars.
Now I want to go back and watch some old school marionette theater, such as Captain Scarlet and Thunderbolts, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. The Fabulous Thunderbolts.
Yep. Thunderbirds. Fabulous
Thunderbirds. Thunderbolts was a Marvel comic.
Right. Thunderbird 1 is a go. Thunderbird 2 is a go. Thunderbird 3 is a go.
I did make the mistake of watching
Let Them Watch Legend.
The what was it called? Team America.
Team America, heck yeah. I don't know how to say it.
The one that the guys from the South Park did.
Yes.
Yes, I made the mistake of watching that one night. I was not prepared for their take on that. I just
Or Married at that theater. It was
yeah,
hilarious, but it was just like, yeah, this is not right. Not right in a
yeah.
lot of ways here.
I was like, wow, I am so glad I don't have children when I'm watching.
It was just like, am I watching what I think I'm watching? Because it's like not a lot of people remember those older type of marionette TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
And when they did Team America, it was just like, oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Yes, I'm trying to track down Legend on something streaming where we can watch it.
That vomit
But
scene killed me.
yes. Yeah, I'm gonna watch. I want to rewatch Legend, and I'm gonna let my kids watch it with me. So yeah, with Tim Curry as Satan.
I swear that dude had played some very weird roles in his career.
Oh yeah, yeah. And God love her, my wife's favorite movie he's been in was Congo. I was like, no, he's been in much better movies. Stop.
Again, to me, his better roles is ones where he was pretty much didn't have to be the main focus, like in Clue as the butler.
Yes.
Showing everybody around. And it's like, yeah, as Mr. Body's guest, this, and this. And Dr. Frankenfurter. You know,
I want to sit down with my oldest and watch Rocky Horror just to see what her generation brain thinks of that movie.
The question here is, will she get the premise of the movie? There is really no true story. It's just a sequence of broadcasts that could have been intercepted by intelligent life being broadcast from Earth.
I will let you know if I ever get up the courage to watch it with her.
Okay, because that would have been something. Because even when I rewatch it now, I have to always put myself in a mindset of it's like, oh, the purpose of the movie is not to make sense. This is just whatever signals was being got during that time. So things always jumped all over the place.
Yes. Yeah, that might be a good experiment.
But still, I like him in that movie, and I also like him in Clue.
Yeah, I always liked Clue. I thought it was a funny movie. No, my 10-year-old is trying to get my attention. I'm sorry. She wanted to come on screen, but she's in her PJs and she's not coming on screen. So
no,
she's in her PJs. I'm not bringing her over here. So, but yeah, she's not getting enough attention watching a movie, so she wants me to come over and see her.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the show. We're almost at the 2-hour mark anyway.
I spend every day with her, so she can wait.
You gotta put her in the timeout that our grandmas used to put us in when they had to watch General Hospital for the hour.
Yes. Yes.
Where's my Days of the Lives?
Honey, hush now, my story's on. Like, okay. Because I had one of those grandmothers who had the 1970s furniture that had the plastic cover all over it.
Oh, squeak, 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 squeak every time you move.
Mm-hmm. You're just like, hush, boy, I'm trying to watch my show. I'm like, I just sat down. And I never understood it because she was real particular about you can't mess up my furniture now with its plastic covering on it, but she chain smoked all day long. So the plastic
never accidentally dropped the butt on the furniture to burn any part of that plastic.
No, but the plastic was yellow from all the smoke, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I will tell her Auntie Moo says hi. That's all she wants. So, just but
my
I'll
my
I'll have to bring
babysitter. Wow, shut up during Days of Our Lives in return for Dark Shadows. That's another series that I have to go back and revisit. I was never a big Dark Shadows fan, even though I watched some of it in reruns. It just didn't appeal to me.
I never watched a lot of the original one, but I did watch the late 80s, early 90s redo of it, where they try to make it more of a serious show. And I just always remember it just ended one season and on a cliffhanger, and they never brought it back. So I never found out how it ended.
They do that back in the 80s with series.
Yeah.
Man, I'm just thinking of so much stuff that we could go back and revisit and just have fun with.
We could all go back and watch Manimal.
Oh, the magician that turns into all these different animals, and again, the transition that cost NBC a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Another reason why it was canned.
Yep.
Just like Automan.
Oh yeah.
Automan was technically canceled because of the special effects for it. You have to think about computer generated graphics back then cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So they had episodes where they had like $1 million budgets.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it only lasted maybe one season or 6 episodes or six or 7 episodes because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it wasn't a bad show. Don't get me wrong, it was not a bad show. It's just because the guy was a computer program and they did all the computer graphics, it just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah. I some commercial or something aired on TV the other night, and they had Kit from Knight Rider on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to explain the story of Knight Rider to my 10-year-old. And she just stared at me. She's like, the car talked. I was like, yeah. Why? Because it was cool? I don't know.
Why? Wait, she asked why?
Yeah, she's like, why did the car talk?
Because they programmed it to be a smart car. That was a smart car before we had smart cars in this day and age. And you have to try to explain to her, it's like, how did they create a smart car back in the 1980s?
Yes. And she was like, why did he drive all over the country getting into adventures? I was like, because that's what the show was about. What do you want me to tell you?
See, you want to know what would have been the primer to get her to understand Knight Rider? Instead of showing her the 80s TV show, you remember the cartoon series Pole Position with Rhodey and Wheels?
Yes.
That would have been the primer. It's like, oh, you don't think that premise is good enough? Here, watch Pole Position. Pole Position took this from Knight Rider.
Yes. And then I could make her watch Speed Racer.
Oh, Speed Racer did not have the talking computer up in there, but the Mach 5 was something else.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the messed up thing about Speed Racer. We got it over here as Speed Racer.
Mm-hmm.
In Japan, it was called Mach a Go-Go.
Mm-hmm.
Because Go is the number 5, so Mach 5 Go-Go.
Right.
Over there, the show was about the car.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, it was about the driver.
Yeah. Yes. Some of those old animes, if you go back and watch them, that is some weird stuff. I love it, but man, it is so weird.
Astro Boy trying to power up his batteries, and he has to plug up through his butt.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm just like, how?
One of my friends who self-publishes his comic went to San Diego Comic-Con one year and came back, and he's a big Power Ranger fan, or in Japan that's a Super Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how long ago it was. He brought me back a VHS tape.
Okay.
Of it was a Super Sentai team-up movie. It was whatever the Japanese name for Power Rangers Zeo and Turbo, Power Rangers Turbo was. Because I don't remember off the top of my head. They teamed up, and the story of the movie was the main villain came to Earth to kidnap humans because he was going to force humans to marry cars and make a race of car people.
Why does that sound like a plot for like Power Rangers SPD?
And I'm just sitting here, I was like, I'm not knocking this because I enjoy it and I love anime, but this is just everything that is so weird about Japanese television all put together. My plan is to force humans to marry cars and make a race of car people. And no one laughed. I was just like, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think I still have the cassette somewhere. If I could find a VCR that works, I'm gonna throw it out.
I laughed at it. Yeah, Kit was pre-chaining Transformer. Yep. Yeah. Knight Rider was fun, but it was more fun than BJ and the Bear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
BJ McKay and his best friend Bear.
I miss
that is
the old
not every car stream because people keep forgetting about my mother the car.
Yes.
See, that was the real joke about marrying your car, because again, you wouldn't have, you had shows over here that was like my mother the car type stuff.
What guy would say no to? I would be afraid of burning and chafing issues, actually.
No, I don't want to get graphic here. I don't want to get graphic, but I don't think every last guy would like to stick their thing in a tailpipe. I mean, that would be the closest thing to anal, I guess.
I don't know, but I know my sister-in-law was such a car freak that when she sees a Mustang or a muscle car, she'll go hump it. So it's not just
only Elaine. Yeah. Like, when cars have lubricated parts. Yeah, but we're talking about possible areas of reproduction, and it's like, what? The gas tank would be kind of like whatever the mouth is, so that would be oral. The tailpipe would be like anal, but there wouldn't be an equivalent for exactly, vaginal equivalent. So I'm at a loss.
I'll just stick with my couch if I'm desperate enough.
Now you got me thinking about Pink, you in your hand. Thanks, Elaine. Thank you, Elaine.
Man, this show took a turn.
Yeah, you have it, but that ejection part is part of the engine. You're not going to go into the heart to have sex. I'm sorry. You guarantee to get a hottie. Oh gosh.
I don't kink shame, so you do you.
I don't think it's a game to the kink. It's just getting the more technical aspect that almost got us in trouble, like how we was talking about smooth rock and jagged rock when it comes to Ben Grimm the Thing if he ever decides to have sex. Yes, that was a conversation that Elaine and I had here on Comic Book Spectrum. She does those type of things. She gets into those like, yeah, that could work. It's like, we're not saying that it can't work, but it was like, when you really start thinking about this stuff, you have to really think outside the box. Because it's like, yeah, you got injection, but normally injection comes directly from the gas tank, which means that it would have been the mouth.
Okay.
But yeah, we go ahead and change topics here. We go ahead and change the topic a little bit here.
For some reason that makes me think about who was it? Was it Jimmy Palmiotti's book? The Pro?
Oh, the
Garth Ennis, I should have known.
what? The Pro?
The Pro. It was
Yeah,
about
Garth Ennis wrote the story. Jimmy did the artwork.
Yeah.
Jimmy and Amanda did the artwork.
Yeah, The Pro, where the prostitute gained superpowers and joined the Justice League.
Or a pseudo Justice League here. Aliens came down out of nowhere and gave the prostitute her powers, and she didn't realize what they did to her. She goes back the regular, doing her normal thing and everything, and now all of a sudden she got these powers, and the Justice League, the equivalent of Justice League, showed up on her doorstep. It's like, you got to join us, and this, that, and the other. And she's like looking at them, was like, who the bleep are you? Yes. And why should I give a care?
Yes, in the scene where their equivalent of Superman and her got to know each other. That made me, all of this talk about cars made me think about that for some reason. So
that doesn't surprise me, but then again, it was one of the most lackluster scenes in that story, because she kind of like shamed him for his
I just remember I just remember the end result was he shot an airplane down with what came out.
That part didn't bother me.
Mm-hmm.
What bothered me was the fact that she was like, that's interesting, you didn't last that long. That part with the thing, it's like, you're supposed to be super in every way. It's like, pow, it's like shot down the airplane. It's like, she's like looking at him like, that was quick.
I mean, happens to the best of us, baby. I'm sorry. That makes so much more sense now. I'd forgotten that it was Garth Ennis. So yeah.
Yeah, it's Garth Ennis, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Amanda Conner.
Yeah, that's par for the course. Yeah.
But I loved it when she first got her powers, and she finds out that dudes were beating up on her counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
And she uses her powers for the first time and made mincemeat out of the so-called Johns that was being abusive.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good story. It's a good story nonetheless.
Yeah.
Worth reading. If you got a couple of spare minutes, you want a good laugh.
Mm-hmm. You can't go into it thinking it's anything besides a good laugh to have.
Mm-hmm. Put it this way:
unlike if you read,
it's a better laugh than trying to read Sex Criminals. Sex Criminals, you have to take with a little bit of seriousness.
Mm-hmm. I have to admit that the first trade of Sex Criminals, where the main guy character openly admits every day at work after lunch, he goes in the bathroom and does what he has to free his time just so he can go crap in his boss's plant.
Yep.
That makes me laugh every time I read.
And it was always clockwork. It's like,
yeah. And the whole idea of that is just so funny to me. But yeah, a lot. I never finished Sex Criminals because it's like, that's not one of those books I can have up on my shelf.
No, definitely not. It's definitely an adult book, but it's not also something that is of my taste too. I have to be in a particular mood to read that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't, I enjoyed it, but it's like I said, it's like I've got too many other things that I try not to hide in the house. I'm not going to like take up room with comic books that can't be seen by the kids. So
Right. I
I'll
mean, you got
I'll
you
say
got
that
you
about.
got you got children and stuff, and just like with me and Saga, I was like, I can't collect a series that I will go mad midway through the series and be like confused. It's like why is every other scene, every other scene in each and every issue has some type of, oh, we just met, we must have sex together. It's like, why? Why? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I kind of lost interest I read the first 2 or 3 trades of Saga, and then I just kind of like lost interest in it. It wasn't bad. It didn't grip me the way it seemed to grip other people who read it. So
Well, that's the thing, because it really, the people and the stories that they were telling really grabbed a lot of people.
mhm,
But when you look at the bigger overall universe, it's kind of meh. And I
yeah.
guess that's the reason why I just couldn't like get it. I understand why people love it. I get
Mhm,
why people love it, but the universe to me is kind of like meh, because it was just oversaturated with these, if I could say, romps by certain characters, and it's like it kind of ruined what you were trying to do with the real stories behind all these different cultures and why they were fighting one another.
yeah. Yeah, I think also the problem was I discovered Saga at the same time I discovered East of West by Jonathan Hickman, and I liked it so much better. I
I
think that
never
might also
I never read East to West. It never appealed to me. And that was kind of like one of the things during that time. There was not that many books that Image was doing that really appealed to me.
hmm yeah.
And somebody snowed snacky cakes again. But the question is, did you get caught? She
That's
was trying to
probably
be a speedster. Oh yes, she missed the concept of how would a man make love to a car. We're not revisiting that. You have to go back and rewatch it. We're not revisiting that.
but if you're really that interested in it, there's a movie called Crash that came out a few years ago about people who got off on car wrecks. You can watch that, and it'll be basically the same thing.
And if you want to watch a movie about a over possessive car, then watch Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would end up happening if the story of that Super Sentai that you were telling me about actually was done correctly. I was like, how would you deal with a car that would be like Christine? A human would deal like that. It's like, you cheated on me.
Years and years and years ago, Gail Simone posted on Twitter that Christine, Maximum Overdrive, and the Disney movie Cars were all the same universe at just different points in time. And I spent like a week thinking of how you got from Christine to Cars, or did you get from Cars to Christine?
Well, here's the problem with that. I can see where you go from Cars to Maximum Overdrive,
Mhm,
or Maximum Overdrive to Cars.
mhm,
The one thing that they cannot explain is what happened at the end of Christine,
mhm.
when Christine healed herself.
Yes.
It was started to form itself back. So that's like, that never happened in Maximum Overdrive, and that definitely didn't happen in Cars. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
huh?
but I got a good laugh out of that. And I seriously spent a week trying to figure out how they would all fit together. And I was just like,
She will
damn it.
find a way to write that story too.
Mhm. Yeah, and that was one of the few times I actually went online and like cussed at Gail Simone for something she put on Twitter because I took too much time out of my life thinking about it. Gosh, but
Mad Spooky
okay, Mike.
was fun. It was
Yeah.
goofy political I guess that was supposed to be astute, but yet politically astute and yet irrelevant. Yep.
Yes, and I can't wait to hear you review it next week.
I'll even find a book. That's if she still has it.
Yes. I'll have to find a book to review for next week then.
Yep. Well, we're over the 2-hour mark. We're like 2 hours, 16 minutes in. So if you're ready to call it a quits, I would give you the floor.
I don't want the floor, but thank you. Yes, this has been fun. Thank you guys. I'm sorry we didn't get to hear Elaine and you had to just listen to us, but it has been quiet for 2 hours in my house, so I have to go see where all the bodies are now. So thank you. Come again.
And on that note, we have to go to our sponsor for the day here, and that is Jeffrey Hayes and Plasma Fire Graphics. If you need covers for your brand new novel or your graphic novel or your comic book, give Jeffrey Hayes a quick little message here. And if you don't believe that his work is worth it, take a gander at this video.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasma Fire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasma Fire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
You've seen the graphics. Now go ahead and give Jeffrey Hayes a call give him a call by looking up his webpage at plasmafiregraphics.com or giving him a quick little message over there on his Facebook group for Plasma Fire Graphics. As far as I'm concerned, we're going to deal with these last bit of messages here. They're saying, seeing you on the Book of Faces, and then Night Guys, you did better without me. I don't think so. And happy 4th, everyone. And Beanie says, pew, 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 boom, pow, LOL for fireworks here. So on that note, I'm going to bid you guys adieu here. I will be back here Saturday on this channel for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. There could be a couple of things that we're going to revisit here. One of the things that came up over this week is the possibility of Dynamite Entertainment going into bankruptcy because of what happened with Diamond. But we might save that for a later time here. So as always say, live life, grow, and be well. And unlike Brian K. Morris, I don't care if you wash your hands, but never, and I do mean never, apologize for being awesome. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you here next week, right here, Thursdays, for Comic Book Spectrum. Night.